Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Despain. Modern-day IndyCar racing is predominantly a road course affair, a few traditional oval races thrown in to remind us of the way things were. But back in the late 1960s, oval racing was still the norm, and road courses were the exception. Thus, it was all the more interesting that in both 1967 and again in '68, the season's finale on the road course at Riverside, California, decided the national championship. ABC Wide World of Sports covered the '68 race. The team included cameo appearances by Jim McKay, play-by-play by our old friend Chris ECONOMAKI, and expert analysis by retired driver Roger Ward. All the sport's big names were on hand for the finale, but the headline story was '68 Indy 500 winner Bobby Unser's effort to catch Mario Andretti in the battle for the USAC championship. Mario lost that crown to A.J. Foyt in the same race the year before. If Unser's #3 wins today, Mario needs 4th or better to clinch. This is also the last race for Andy Granatelli's turbine cars. The rules are changing. He won't race them again. Now let's join Jim McKay in the heart of the action.
We're back again at Riverside International Raceway, and I want to tell you, this is some experience. I'm actually in the pace car on the final pace lap before the start of this race. The field of 30 cars strung out behind us. Here's the way they line up. On the first row, on the pole, Dan Gurney, and alongside him, Mario Andretti, leading in the battle for the USAC championship. In row 2, Joe Leonard in the turbine and Al Unser. Row 3, Mark Donohue, the fine sports car driver, and Jack Brabham of Australia. Row 4, Jerry Titus and A.J. Foyt. Row 5, Bobby Unser, who must almost win this race today in order to come from behind and win the USAC championship. And alongside him is the other turbine driven by Art Pollard. Row 6 is Dr. Lou Snell of California and Gordon Johncock. Then we have Ronnie Bucknam and Lloyd Ruby. Behind them, John Cannon and Peter Revson of New York. Row 9, Johnny Rutherford and Skip Scott. Then George Palmer and Wally Dallenbach. Mike Mosley and Gary Bettenhausen. Roger McCluskey and Jimmy Malloy. Row 13, Sully Vukovic and Rick Mother. In 14, Sam Sessions and Arnie Knapper. And in row 15, rounding out the field, Jenny McElreath and E.J. Bill Simpson. Now we're into the straightaway, headed for the start line. The pace car pulling off, and there they go behind us. We're going to get a start. Now to call the race action, here's Chris ECONOMAKI along with Roger Ward. And the start, and Mario Andretti outdrags Dan Gurney, but only for a moment, as last year's winner pushes his Olsenite Eagle into the lead going into turn 2. Andretti second, Al Unser third, and the turbine driven by Joe Leonard is fourth. 30 cars with 116 laps to go in this Rex Mays 300. And here's Gurney now, closely pursued by Andretti in turn 6, making a 180 and going down now into the blind turn 7, one of the toughest turns on the circuit. They're strung out. All got safely through the first half of the turns on this 2.6-mile circuit. And don't forget, Mario Andretti shooting for his 3rd national championship. And actually, he wants to win the race. He's trying to keep Bobby Unser behind him. Unser is deep in the field at this point. Andretti has Jerry Titus in car 64, who's running right behind Leonard in the turbine. Titus will be Andretti's backup driver if he should need a second automobile. And this situation happened here last year, so Andretti has come to the track protected with an insurance machine. 30 cars in the contest, winding their way through the S's, and now up to turn 6, one of the most exciting corners on the... Oops, there's in trouble. Jack Brabham, the world champion, off the track, and then back on it again, and through expert handling, the balance of the field all go around him. He's okay. He's pulling his car off the track. He's driving a machine that he designed and built himself. A 3-time world champion in trouble early here in this Rex Mays 300. Gurney continues to set the pace. His engine fitted with cylinder heads he designed and built himself. It's a stock block engine, and it's a little bit humiliating for the boys behind with those special racing engines, isn't it, Roger?
Well, you might think so. However, that's as much a racing engine as the ones behind, believe me.
And Gurney down the long straightaway. Tremendous speed here. Brakes getting hit very hard by the leaders. Donohue trying to improve his position there.
Titus almost losing it.
Jerry Titus Mario.
There's a car in trouble.
That's Lou Snell, and the wheel is thrown off the car as it goes off the track. Snell, the SCCA Formula A champion, is off the track at the end of that long back straightaway. What do you think happened, Roger?
Well, it appears to me as though there might have been a little oil or something on the course because several cars got in trouble. However, he probably just applied the brakes too hard.
And it looks as though fire has broken out. The thing that every race driver dreads in the event of an accident. There's the car, upside down and broken in half. Do you think he's inside of it, Roger?
Yes, Chris, I'm afraid he is. These cars are very difficult to get out of. They have shoulder harnesses and seat belts to keep the drivers in, and I'm afraid he's still pinned underneath that race car.
Well, Dr. Lou Sell, he's a practicing dentist from Fullerton, California, and the car is an Eagle Ford that's owned by television comedian Dickie Smothers. Sell's been very active in SCCA racing, and this year was their Formula A champion, similar automobile, a little bit different, but let's hope that he's going to be okay, and we'll be back to check on Sell in a moment. But racing continues because the accident is off the racetrack. And there, Mark Donahue closes on Mario Andretti in second place. Dan Gurney is still the leader as they pass the accident scene. The yellow flag is out, which means slow down, but passing is permitted here where it is not in oval track racing. One may pass, and that's just what Mario Andretti is trying to do to leader Dan Gurney. On the inside, and he makes good the pass. And we have a new leader now in this National Championship Indianapolis car race. Mario Andretti pushing Dan Gurney back to second, and Mark Donahue, another SCCA star, winner of the Road Racing Championship this year, in third place. In fourth place is Al Unser in the four-wheel drive Lola, then Joe Leonard in the turbine. And now the fire is out. The attendants are flipping that Eagle Ford over. It's broken in two pieces, and I'm certainly afraid of what we're going to see now. And there's Sell in the car. He's putting his goggles down. He's reaching up. He appears to be conscious, and he's going to get out of the car, of course. Well, that's a great, pleasant surprise, isn't it, Roger?
Well, it certainly is. Of course, his fire protective uniform and that helmet and some of the other things have protected him, but he must be hurt rather badly. However, he is getting out himself, which is certainly a good sign.
Well, the roll bar, I'm sure, was a big point there. It kept the weight of the car off of him. And there you can see his suit is burned away. They wear flame-proof underwear under that suit. And there Mario Andretti and Dan Gurney continue the battle. Well, that's good news for Dr. Lou Sell. We'll be taken to the hospital, of course, and we'll have a report on him later in the show. But right now, the race. And here's the action is furious in turn 9 as they head into the main straightaway. Close going and heavy traffic here. Dan Gurney, number 48, last year's winner in the Olsenite Eagle, setting a hot pace. We'll be back for more action in just a moment. Back at Riverside, the other man involved in the battle for the national championship, Bobby Unser, has had trouble and got off the road. He's back in 13th position. And Mario Andretti in car number 2 leads. We talked to Mario before the race about the championship.
Well, Mario, it was a year ago this weekend when the circumstances were pretty much the same, a close battle for the national championship. And you had your bad luck then. What kind of plans have you made in case bad luck should strike today?
Well, I think I have a couple of 3 backup cars that I'll have to use as insurance. And one of these is my very own car by Overseas National Airways. They let us run through this trip, so I just hope I don't need them, that's all.
Now down the back straightaway, and Gurney passes him as they enter turn 9.
Boy, that Gurney really knows how to drive this Riverside Raceway. They say he owns the racetrack. He's won 5 of 6 500-mile stock car races here and won the first running of this race last year. That Jim McElreath behind, headed for the pits with a canted front wheel, and Gurney once again is out in front. It's a hometown track for Gurney. The fans really love this fellow from Costa Mesa now and have signs all around the track, Go Dan and Dan Gurney for president and things like that. There's a turbine, and Mario Andretti's backup car, number 64, driven by Jerry Titus, right behind it. Andy Granatelli, the designer and builder of the turbine, says this is their last race. He doesn't like next year's rules.
And Chris, there's a car out of control.
That's Arnie Knepper, number 19, sliding off into the soft infield area. Softer than a guardrail, eh, Roger?
It certainly is. You might say he used the escape route there.
Well, Dan Gurney, number 48, continues to lead in this Olsenite Eagle. He's approaching turn 7 now. They take some mid-track line. Let's go back and look at the line taken by these cars in slow motion.
Well, Chris, you'll see as we go to slow motion that the cars take several different lines through this turn. And, of course, the reason for that is that the cars might be set up differently, and, of course, each car is trying to pass the other one or something. Besides that, quite often a driver will take a different line in this turn so that he'll be set up for the next one. As you can see, one turbine comes in tight, the other one quite a bit wider.
Well, that's what makes road racing interesting, the various lines that the drivers take. And now back to full-speed action on that long back straightaway. Gurney in the middle of the road, headed for turn 9, and this shot from the Goodyear flip. Now, the fight for second place between Mario Andretti and Mark Donahue. And Donahue outbreaks Andretti and moves into the number 2 spot. So we have 2 road racers in the 1 and 2 positions in this championship race now. 300 miles, and Mark Donahue, who's only driven in one such race of this type before, is certainly showing to advantage here this afternoon. And here's a look at Bobby Unser. He's now up to 11th place, trying to move into 10th. It's held by Sam Sessions, who's in the only turbocharged Offie in the race. A lot of action and a lot of speed here at Riverside International Raceway. Gurney, going around a slower car, Jim Malloy in car 67, now finds himself one lap off the pace. Winding around through the gears, tough on the old hands shifting, Roger, isn't it?
Yes, I've seen drivers come out of a race like this with many blisters on their hands.
Al Unser goes around a car and loses control and backs into the hay bales at turn 9. And boy, thank goodness for the hay bales. Al's driving the George Bignotti prepared four-wheel drive Lola Ford, and I'm sure that solid hit has eliminated it from, yes, it is eliminated from further competition, but what's nice about a four-wheel drive car, Roger, you can drive these damaged cars back to the pit.
Well, on some occasions you can, and that right rear wheel looks like it's almost to fall off, but of course the other wheels are putting him along in pretty good shape.
Unser's a driver who was battling with Lloyd Ruby for third position in the standings. He's got a backup car in the race. It's on the course now, handled by Skip Scott. We'll be back for more of this race after this message. And Gurney leads, but he's under pressure from Mark Donahue in number 12. Gurney's Olsenite Eagle averaging 111.955 miles an hour, a record speed for this stage of the event. Third place belongs to Mario Andretti. Fourth to Joe Leonard in the number 60 Turbine, followed closely by Jerry Titus. Here's Titus and A.J. Foyt in the other Turbine, driven by Art Pollard, who's in a little bit of trouble here. Dido's out, and then in and gets off the road, but recovers and goes back into the competition. Bobby Unser's been working his way through traffic beautifully since we last saw him, and is now coming up to put some pressure on A.J. Foyt. Unser's getting closer and closer to Mario Andretti in this battle for the national championship. Now Unser tries to get by Foyt down the long back straightaway. Rick Muther, and he goes between Muther and Foyt to advance one position. Unser, the Indianapolis winner, has had terrible luck since the May 30th Classic. But he's on his way now. The track is sending out his cars full by the wayside. Not too much traffic. And hop, here's a tough break for Mario Andretti. His backup driver, Jerry Titus, pulls off the track with a broken suspension, and Mario's insurance policy lapses. There's Andretti in the number 2 car, lying third behind Gurney and Donahue. Oops, Donahue's off the road, hits a tire, and damages the front end, and he'll be out of the race. This puts Mario up in second position. Joe Leonard in the Turbine, number 60, is now third, and Bobby Unser, the challenger for the championship, has moved into fourth position in number 3. And the Turbines, number 20 and 60, driven by Art Pollard and Joe Leonard, are fourth and sixth, split by A.J. Foyt in car number 1. Ronnie Bucknam in number 45 is seventh. Lloyd Ruby is 8th and number 25. There's A.J. Foyt, a little miscue. Later on in today's show, we'll be seeing the Heisman Trophy dinner honoring O.J. Simpson. Boy, that Foyt recovers beautifully, doesn't he, Roger?
He certainly does. He can get in and out of trouble quicker than any man I ever saw.
So Dan Gurney, setting a blistering pace at 112.087 miles an hour, has dominated this championship race today. Second place, Mario Andretti in the number 2 car, hoping for that national championship. There's Lloyd Ruby in number 25. He's 8th. And one of the fine drivers. Here's Foyt now slowing down. He may be headed for the pits. It's that time of the race when pit stops are going to have to be made for routine refueling. And A.J. Foyt is going in. He's signaling his pit crew a bit early for the pit stop.
We could have a lot of changes in regard to positions here because these pit stops could be very important. If one was long, this could cost somebody a position or two.
Well, the pit crews have to do their job, and it's time that they go to work. They do a fine job in the preparation of the automobile, but the stopwatches will be on them now. And here comes Dan Gurney, the leader, into the pits. And now everyone's eyes goes to the pit crew. The Olsenite number 48 is in, the leader, and here will be the test of whether he can get in and out and preserve his lead. Andretti is quite close, but of course Andretti will have to stop. The hoses go in. The tanks are on both sides of the car. A remarkable pit stop. We started our clocks. Dan Gurney gets a little bit of a drink. 5 men working on the car. The seconds tick away. And now the Turbine car is in the pits, and we'll be back for more in a moment.
If you can't wait, you need the News Weekly of Motoring, Auto Week. If you can't wait for driving impressions, get Auto Week. Auto Week drives them all and tells you about them first. If you can't wait for car news, get Auto Week. Auto Week covers it all. The great old cars, the auto shows. Auto Week's columnists are controversial and fast. And if you can't wait for racing news, get the News Weekly of Motoring. Auto Week races to bring you the winningest coverage first. If you can't wait, get Auto Week, the News Weekly of Motoring, now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for a full year. 52 issues at the special TV price of $19.95. Just 38 cents an issue. Save $80 off the cover price. You've thought about it. Stop waiting. Do it now. Call 1-800-828-4100 for the News Weekly of Motoring.
Well, let's rejoin the 1968 IndyCar Championship finale at Riverside now. There have been major developments. The defending series champion, A.J. Foyt, dropped out of the race. And championship contender Mario Andretti has also suffered a mechanical failure. Remember, Jerry Titus and Andretti's backup car had already retired. So, Mario's shopping for a ride as Chris ECONOMAKI catches up with him on pit road.
Here's Mario Andretti, the second-place man, and the third-place man, Bobby Unser, in his Rizlone Eagle. Now we'll see which pit crew is the fastest. Tanks on both sides of the cars, and Andretti is out of his car. Chris is on his way over to get a word with Mario Andretti, who is really in trouble now, because his backup car is already out of the race, and he'll have to get an automobile that is fairly well placed if he's going to have a chance for the championship. Now let's go to Chris.
Here's Mario Andretti. He has just walked down from his car, which he's abandoned. Mario, what happened to your car?
Spun a bearing, something happened to the bottom end, lost the oil pressure.
Which car will you take over now?
Joe Leonard's turbine, we're trying to.
Where will you have to finish now to beat Unser for the championship?
I don't know.
Tough break for Mario Andretti.
So it's the number 60 turbine that was laying in 6th place before the stop. And there's Cornelli Jones, the owner of the automobile, with a pillow in his hand that will help Mario Andretti reach the pedals. This is an interesting choice because Mario has had very few miles in this automobile. And of course, Joe Leonard giving him a few words about the automobile, the condition perhaps. Mario gets in, he's going to have to really drive this automobile if he plans to get up into a position that would give him a shot at the championship. They have to hold the automobile because it has no clutch. And as he leaves the pit, let's go to Chris ECONOMAKI with a word with Joe Leonard.
Joe, it was a mighty sporting gesture of you to turn your car over to Mario. What shape is the car in?
Well, it's not in too good a shape. Unfortunately, the inboard brakes we're having a little problem with. You have to pump them. And then when I take those feet, hold the right brakes on and the inboard brakes, then by the time I get on the throttle, you got about a 5-second throttle delay.
You think he'll be able to finish with the car?
Oh, I think so if he takes it easy. Yeah.
He can't take it easy and win the championship, though.
Well, we don't know. If he can finish with the car, what were we in, 6th place or something?
Turbines have 2 sets of brakes, 1 set inboard and 1 set outboard. And apparently, the inboard brakes are already worn out on car number 60. Well, down the back straightaway, Pollard has overtaken Mario Andretti. Here they come into turn 9. It's a treacherous corner, and oops, in trouble! And Andretti rams the number 20, and they both go to the wall on the outside of the track, electrifying the pits and the fans as well. What an unbelievable development in this race today. But fortunately, the drivers look okay, and they get out of the cars. What an unbelievable climax to a stormy career for these 2 cars, and the national championship picture now certainly looks dismal for Mario Andretti with Bobby Unser in the number 3 car, riding a comfortable second behind Dan Gurney. Well, racing fans, take a last look at the turbine. Andy Granatelli, their owner, says they'll race no more. And here, Mario Andretti on the right, and Art Pollard of Medford, Oregon, on the left, consoling Mario as they walk across the track. The yellow flag is out, and here, Andy Granatelli, who knows so much about what Lady Luck can do to a man. He pioneered the turbines, he developed them, he championed them, and there they are, wrecked, smoking, and out of the contest. They have never won a race. A startling development here in this race, the 24th and last of the year on the USAC Championship Trail. Last year, Mario Andretti lost the championship in this race to A.J. Foyt, and now it appears as though he's lost it to Bobby Unser. But now he's on the back of a motorcycle driven by Parnelli Jones, and apparently is shopping for another car. Going up pit lane, which is pretty empty. Let's see where they're going now. Which car will they select? Obviously, it'll be a car that is fitted with Firestone tires. The Goodyear boys stick together, and so do the Firestone boys. But Al Unser, who is third in the standings and battling with Lloyd Ruby in the car that Skip Scott started off the road. But the car looks okay, and he's coming back onto the track. We're in the late stages of this 300-mile race. We've got tremendous action both on and off the raceway. The number 25 is coming in. It's the Firestone car. Lloyd Ruby has been called in, and Mario Andretti will take over. And a big crowd gathers here in the pits to watch the changeover. Ruby gets out, and Andretti will get in, and this is a different size here, too. Andretti being a much smaller man than Ruby is. Ruby from Wichita Falls, Texas, who had Al Unser beaten for third in the national standings, is giving up that chance for the number 3 spot to allow Andretti a shot at the national championship. And we'll be back for more in a moment.
When your office is 200,000 acres of rugged woodland, you need a deodorant you can depend on. Men count on Old Spice to help prevent odor before it starts. It kills odor-causing bacteria on contact. 99%. That's effectiveness you can count on with the clean, classic scent of Old Spice.
Hi, Aunt. Upstay at the office?
You bet. Old Spice deodorant, because prevention is the ultimate form of protection. Count on it.
What is a hit?
Are you ready for the thing called love?
If it's on VH1, it's a hit.
VH1.
The greatest hits of music video.
His blazing fastball puts fear in the hearts of opposing batters. He's the Rocket Man, Roger Clemens, and he takes the mound for the Red Sox as they face their old rivals, the Yankees. Leading off ESPN's Tuesday night doubleheader. You're watching ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Well, this 68 Riverside finale is a measure of the power of tire company loyalty in late 60s IndyCar racing. Lloyd Ruby sacrificed third place in the series standings to give fellow Firestone driver Mario Andretti a chance to keep that championship away from Goodyear shot Bobby Unser. On another subject, an update on Dr. Lou Sell, who crashed on lap 1. He suffered serious burns over 35% of his body. Let's go back to the exciting conclusion of the race now with Chris ECONOMAKI and Roger Ward.
Dan Gurney has a big lead here at Riverside as 36,500 of the faithful look on in the closing laps of this 300-mile race. Bobby Unser in car number 3 headed hopefully for the national championship. We talked to him before the race.
Well, I'm going to have to be kind of careful, Chris, because I realize that I have to finish the race to stand any ghost of a chance at all, so I feel that I have to be a little bit on the careful side and, do my best to try to finish the race.
Dan Gurney, the leader, right behind Unser. The finish almost in sight, and Gurney tries to put a lap on Bobby Unser and starts to go by him. Why, Roger, so late in the race?
Well, I suspect it's a matter of pride with Dan. He always runs well here, but actually Bobby has slowed down some also, because his only thought now is to protect that second-place finish.
And, of course, with it comes the championship, I'm sure. Now, here's Bill Vukovich, son of a great driver, who was up in 5th place. And here, just before the finish, his car's apparently run out of something. And he's stopping at a rather precarious place on the outside of a turn. I wouldn't want to be parked here, Roger.
No, I wouldn't either. And actually, as you can see, he's coasting across the racetrack to the inside where he would not be in danger.
One of the club's top rookies, Bill Vukovich, Jr. Now, here's the checkered flag being displayed by Shim Malone. And Dan Gurney has won this Indianapolis Car Championship race at Riverside. Holds his hand high, takes the flag to win his second straight here on this 2.6-mile track. There's the flag being displayed over the entire field. Second place goes to Bobby Unser in car number 3. And third will be the number 25 car, which was started by Lloyd Ruby and taken over late in the race by Mario Andretti in his quest for the championship. There he is right now. And here's Dan, the winner, at a record speed of 111.689 miles an hour. He broke his own record set last year. He won $18,050 of the $85,000 purse. A great triumph and a popular one among the hometown fans. Sponsor Ozzie Olsen runs over, as do the well-wishers. Roger, I see you've been scribbling with your pencil. How do the points tally?
Well, unofficially, it appears to me that Bobby Unser has won the championship by about 6 points.
Well, if that's right, it'll be the closest finish in USAC history. And Bobby Unser, the winner in a hard-fought championship battle by only 6 points over Mario Andretti. His brother Al Unser beat out Lloyd Ruby for third. Ruby would have gotten it had he not turned his car over to Mario. And for every winner, there must be a loser. And again this year, it's Mario Andretti, wearing his heart on his sleeve.
Well, right up to the day Riverside Raceway closed to make way for a subdivision, Dan Gurney remained its most popular and most successful driver. Mario went on to become the world road racing champion. Well, that's the story of the 1968 Rex Mays 300. I'm Dave Despain, inviting you to join us on our next trip back in time as we recall the glory days of motorsports.